What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Titletown Podcast. It's Chase here, my friend Adam again. What's going on, Adam?
How you doing, Chase?
Well, I'm not doing too well, Adam. Neither are you, because today we're talking about post-game reactions against the Rams. So we're going to do the typical Patriots post-game, and we're just going to go 3 takeaways and call it a segment. So, Adam, you have a lot to say. I got a text from Adam yesterday while the game was happening. Cannot wait to record tomorrow because I got a lot to talk about. So, Adam, what's your first one?
All right, my first takeaway, and the last couple Patriots segments, I've been really down on Cam Newton. And so this one is down on Cam Newton as well. But I would just like to say my first takeaway is that he is the biggest reason we lost that game. And he's the biggest reason that we are not going to make the playoffs this year. And let me tell you why. First, just looking at that game, there were a lot of reasons we lost. Like, our defense against the run was atrocious. I've never seen, Cam Akers look like the best running back in the NFL before.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Our offensive line was terrible, too. I mean, we got sacked an absurd amount of times. But beyond that, Cam Newton, this game, bad. That pick six was a 14-point swing that would have been, you take that out and we score a touchdown there, that's a whole new ball game. That was also just terrible. That was, okay, can't really see. I have no open guys, so I'm just going to lob the ball straight up in the middle of the field where I know there are defenders. Terrible decision. The big thing I wanted to talk about, though, is watching that game, I just realized how much he limits our offense. I wanted, when we, had that, 3rd and goal, 4th and goal, and we just had those, terrible QB draws with Cam, I wanted to get mad at McDaniels, and I wanted to be like, this is terrible play calling, terrible coaching. But then I realized, what else are you supposed to do? You have a coach who realizes my quarterback can't throw the ball, and you have an opposing defense who knows their quarterback can't throw the ball. And so we're stuck with this one-dimensional offense where there's nothing else we can do with other than run with Damian Harris or run with Cam Newton. And the amount that he just kind of limits our offense with that one-dimensionality, if that's even a word, it's just, in my opinion, the reason we're not going to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, you raise a lot of good points right there. Cam, and you've said it for how many weeks. In each week you started off, Cam Newton's a bad quarterback. This is a great way we can solidify because, just the background of what's happening now for all Pat's Nation right now. Even if we went out, there's a 33% chance we make the playoffs. So it's virtually not happening. And I'm just going to go through my points that we are not making the playoffs because it is extremely very unlikely because we would, A, have to win out, and B, a bunch of other teams would have to lose, which probably aren't going to lose. So just a rebuttal to you, Adam, I absolutely agree with you. Cam Newton is not a good quarterback. He's not what we need, and our offense is one-dimensional. But here's where I'm going to argue with you a little bit. I think that if you were going to lose a football game as the Pats, you want to lose because you can't throw the ball, not because you keep getting run stuff. So my takeaway is McDaniels needs to get the hell out of Foxborough. I know Cam limits your offense with the amount of throwing, but he did have a bunch of balls that were thrown pretty well. I know we were all referencing the first drive when Damiere Byrd dropped that pass. He dropped it. It was a great ball on Cam. He dropped it. Cam didn't really miss a lot of open guys. I feel like he overthrew Harry. Harry caught it. But if you're Josh McDaniels, you got to go out swinging. You can't just stick with the run when the run's not working. How many times were we in the red zone? We didn't get away with any points. We got away with, a field goal. I can't remember exactly, but I know there were a couple instances where it's how do we not score a touchdown here? Why do we kick the field goal? Yada, yada, yada. So my thing is, a lot of it does fall on Cam Newton, but he can still throw the football better than the next average guy out there. I'm not saying he's as good as Jared Goff, but I don't think he's that far behind Jared Goff throwing the football-wise. And we don't have great weapons, but the only way they get experience is not by blocking the run 50 times a game. It's by running the routes and, making those contested catches, making those uneasy catches because Cam might not be the most accurate guy. I just think that McDaniels is a moron. I don't know how many times we ran the ball on 3rd and long, 3rd and, pass the ball on 3rd and short, stuff like that, just back and forth. How many times are you going to run it up with Cam in the same play over and over again? I don't know. It makes no sense. I don't want him here anymore. He can go ruin another offense. He's not He's stubborn. Belichick is stubborn, but when Belichick does stuff, it works. When McDaniels doesn't, it doesn't work. So I don't know if you have nothing to add to that, unless you do have something to add to that. We're going to go on to your second one. So right now, what's your takeaway from that?
I'll add one more quick thing, and I think that's an interesting point, and I kind of agree. I have mixed feelings on McDaniels at this point too. But the one other thing I will say about Cam is we've tried throwing the ball with him. I mean, if you look at the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, he had a lot of passing yards. He threw the ball a lot. He also threw a hell of a lot of interceptions, though.
Yeah.
He threw, I think it was 9 picks in the first 5 weeks, and then 2 since then when we've only run the ball. So I think it's a trade-off there of maybe you have a better chance of getting downfield a little bit, and McDaniels probably should have opened it up a little bit and given us more of that chance. You also have a much higher opportunity of throwing more picks, and, I mean, we saw pretty clearly what happens when he's throwing picks.
Yeah,
I think it's a trade-off, and
yeah,
maybe on different sides of that.
Just before you just go into your next one, what I want to say is, why don't you throw some play actions there? Because the defense knows the run's coming. Let's do a little bit of a horizontal offense, not more of a vertical. Because that's what the Rams do that's so effective, that they run a horizontal offense. So my thing is with just McDaniels, and Cam had a lot of passing yards, he had a lot of picks, but you gotta risk it sometimes, because we punted the ball so many times where at the same time it's maybe a pick's not as bad. Maybe it's an extra 10 yards for the Rams. I just don't have any faith in McDaniels, because you don't get upset because of the chips you're given. You go out of your way to figure out what you can do to make that better. And he frankly just didn't do that, and that's just annoying. He looked like he just gave up. And Cam again is not the best. He throws picks, but every quarterback throws picks, but you don't win a game by running against a defense that is a stacked box. That's just a fact.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, also kind of adding on your point there, it got to a point last night where I was like, all right, I know exactly what play we're going to run every time. I could be the Rams defensive coordinator right now, and that's embarrassing for the Patriots. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to move into my second point then, this is also about the Patriots at quarterback. It is less of a knock on Cam Newton, because I've already knocked on Cam Newton as much as I need to. But I would like to see Jarrett Stidham start the last 3 games for the Patriots is my second takeaway. And I'll tell you why is, first of all, Cam's contract is all about incentives. And I don't really know where he is on those incentives.
Definitely not doing too well, I'll tell you that much.
But my feeling is for what he's given us, I don't really feel a need to reward him. And I would be very down to not let him hit all those incentives if he's close to any of them. So that's one reason I don't really want to see him in there. But the bigger thing is, I mean, the Patriots pretty clearly need to be looking now on who's going to be our quarterback next year. I mean, I think we all agree it should not be Cam Newton. And then there's a lot of questions on who it should be. The answer is probably not Stidham, but maybe it is. And if there's any chance it's going to be Stidham, I mean, he seemed to be our guy going into camp this year. I'd like to see him actually get a couple games under his belt where he's the guy, he's not in garbage time, and we can actually see what he's made of before we, have to go into the free agent market, go into the trade market. I'd just really like to see a little more out of Stidham, get a better sense of what he can offer our team next year. And so, that's my second takeaway. That I'd just like to see him be the guy going forward for the end of this season.
Yeah, so you absolutely took my second takeaway, but that's no problem because now I can just respond to what you're saying. I absolutely agree with you. Cam Newton is probably mixed between, 500 and $1 million worth of incentives right now. And you're absolutely right. He doesn't deserve them. As much as I hate to say it, I kind of got to stick up for Cam a little bit, and not that he should be starting in the you can only do so much with the play calling. You know what I mean? He only has 5 touchdown passes, but he has 12 rushing touchdowns, 11 rushing touchdowns. So a lot of it is what he's given. I think it all boils back down to McDaniels just being washed and just not knowing how to, have a quarterback who just frankly isn't pass first. And again, I was just might be contradicting myself when I was saying we shouldn't be running all the time. But you gotta his only prototype he's had in the past has been Brady. And clearly Cam Newton's not Brady, so you got to find something for his scheme thing. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. But I absolutely agree with you. There's virtually no chance. Again, winning out, just want to reiterate this, winning out does not guarantee us a playoff spot. And that is when I'm saying I think that it is Stidham time for sure. I absolutely agree with you on that. 3 games is what Jimmy Garoppolo had. He didn't even have 3 games. He had, what was it, 2.5?
2.5 where he got hurt, right?
Or wasn't a half? Was it 1.5? I think because Brissett had 2.5. It was 1.5 because
okay,
yeah. So all he had was 1.5 games, and it proved out to be he was worth a couple first round picks. When then Belichick decided to only trade him for a second. You know what I mean? So it takes no time for quarterbacks to be shown if they have potential or not. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo isn't what everyone thought he was going to be, but we don't know if that's just because he's working with Shanahan or whatnot. But 3 games, the best that can happen for us is that Stidham is not, possibly can take the reins into next year. And I think the Pats are going at this by a next year, not in the future, because the future is a big word. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So there's that. And the worst case is we go 6-10 and our draft pick skyrockets. And in the process of going 6-10, the Jets will not get the first overall pick, assuming the Jags don't win out.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely agree with you on that. Cam's had his time. He's obviously not a fit here. There's no benefit in letting him play right now. We really don't gain anything unless we are – and if Bill's planning on re-signing him to another 1-year deal, minimum deal, just to have him as an option, then keep playing Cam. That's fine by me. But if it was up to me, if it was up to you, it sounds like we would both say it's Stidham time.
Yeah, and that's a great point I didn't even think of with Stidham's trade value is maybe we learn he's not the guy, but maybe he shows something that another team gets excited about and can be a trade chip for us in the offseason. So I think that's even more reason. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I'm just going to try and just think off the top of my head what my second one's going to be because I had that in my head. But I guess I would say my second takeaway would be that our defense, it looked atrocious. The amount of yards we gave up was bad for sure, but we only let in 24 points.
And one of them was an offensive touch.
Yeah, so we let 17 points in. We obviously looked like we got our asses kicked for sure. Not going to lie. We did look like we got our ass kicked, but we do have those key cogs of young guys that we can build our future around. So that's very promising. And I think my takeaway would be we have a young and promising defense. And obviously you got guys like Gilmore, McCourty, the McCourty brothers, Lawrence Guy. Hightower's obviously not playing this season, but you can't really name a lot of guys on our defense that are that old. So I'm liking that you give this young core of guys another year to work with Bill. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to have an insane amount of respect for the Super Bowl winner. I know I might just be sounding like I could be, if we ended up winning it.
Playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, it's like, everyone was saying LeBron won like a Disney trophy, So it's the COVID opt-outs, the amount of games that had to be switched up, the amount of players that missed because of COVID. This isn't really an NFL season. So I'm fine with our, playoff streak ending right now. But one thing that we are getting is just a year where everyone is just going to be able to get better. And you know what? We're at rock bottom right now. There's no way we can be worse than that. That's all I'm saying. So that's kind of my second takeaway. Before we go into our final takeaways, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today. We are brought to you by Patriots_massholes on Instagram. It's another Patriots account. We love being brought by Patriots account, especially when we're talking about Patriots stuff right now. Great account. Go check them out. We highly recommend you do that. All right, now that we're back, let's hear your final takeaway from the game, Adam.
Yeah, so I actually agree a lot with what you were saying about our young defense. It's pretty promising, and I think that kind of brings me into my third point a little bit, that in a weird way, I'm kind of relieved that we lost last night. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I absolutely 100% wish that we would have won out and made the playoffs, but if we weren't going to make the playoffs, I'd rather lose last night than string along a couple more wins and then have a heartbreak in like week 16 or week 17. Just because partially as a fan, like we don't need to carry the false hope anymore. We can kind of understand where we're at and be excited for next year. But then partially, and this is a little bit what I was saying with Stidham and a little bit with what you were saying on the young defense, we can have a little bit of fun now and just see what's on this team, see what kind of players have been kind of hiding on the depth chart that might be able to show us something, and really just kind of look toward next year and see what there is. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm never happy about a loss and I wish we could have won out and made the playoffs, But I guess my third takeaway is that if we weren't going to, I'm glad we lost last night instead of week 17, so we can kind of start looking toward next year.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you on that. It's after the pick six, I was like, well, that's the season. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
It's the standard, I think, in New England where we've gone to the playoffs how many years. I would rather lose and not make the playoffs and do what we did yesterday than lose in a Super Bowl. I feel like a lot of people can agree with me on that because you work the whole year to get there and you come up in short and come in second. You know what I mean?
I'd rather lose a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's obviously, like a privilege, to play in a Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong, but it's just that what we've had. It's just, get out in the first round against the Titans last year. Now it's,
Mm-hmm.
So the way I think this very probably weighs into mine is that it's my weekly Belichick. Just check in, everyone, get back down to earth and stay calm. Because at the end of the day, if there's anyone that doesn't like losing as much as a Pats fan, it's Bill Belichick. He is going to and wants to get the most wins in NFL history. He's going to reach that. And he wants to make that as high as possible because he is a guy that is, in my opinion, never going to retire. What else is he going to do? You're not going to see him go on like panels and stuff like that. He's not a very, media present guy. So he's going to be with us for the long haul. So what Bill's going to do is, he's like, here's what life is after Brady. Here's what it is. Can't use a guy like Cam Newton. So now I know what to do to plan for the future and continue the dynasty. The dynasty is not over. The dynasty is over once Bill's gone or we go 0-16 2 years in a row. The dynasty isn't over. He can bring in one guy next year. You don't know what could happen. He could be like, bam, we just got Matt Ryan. Bam, we just got Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, someone that's, a young, promising quarterback, an old veteran. He could do something that we have no idea what's coming because that's what he is. He's Belichick. He's the Sith Lord. He's a dark wizard. He is the guy that is hoodie up, behind the scenes, pulling the strings, why everyone has all those memes about him, why the Pats are notorious cheaters, all that stuff, because he's one step ahead of the league. And you know what? He wants everyone to be doubting him right now. He wants everyone to be – because you're telling me right now, you think he's having a hard time sleeping at night right now, worrying about what's going to happen? Absolutely not. This is all part of his grand scheme of things. And you know what? What he's gained out of this is more knowledge about what this team is, what he can do. Again, a young, up-and-coming defense. Defense wins championships. Better picks this year than we've had since forever. And the best part is – he is not going to let, in my opinion, Trevor Lawrence play in this division unless he is on the Pats. And you want to know why? This is my third point, 3.2, 3.1 take. We are going to lose. We are going to throw the game against the Jets in Week 17, assuming that they are still in contention to get the first overall pick. And because I'll tell you what right now, Bill would much rather lose the Jets at home in a Week 17 game, doesn't matter for us, matters for them, than have Trevor Lawrence play in our division for 15, 20 years and him possibly dominate it. And you want to know why? Because you got to think long-term here. We are already done. And you know what? If we lose to the Jets, who's the real winner of that game? It's not the Jets, I'll tell you that much. It's us. That's just my whole thing. I just want to remind everyone, we're freaking out. We're 6-7, not making the playoffs. Give me one other head coach right now, Adam. Give me one other head coach right now that could take this Pats team 6-7.
I got nothing.
You can't. You absolutely cannot. And everyone's like, Bill's washed. If you are a Pats fan, you think Belichick is washed, Belichick is overrated, get the hell out of Foxborough. Get the hell out of New England because you do not know. He literally went from the GOAT. We all know Tom Brady is and will be forever the greatest quarterback to step foot on a football field. And that might, and you might be like, Patrick Mahomes has a better throwing ability. Rodgers has a better throwing ability. They don't have Brady's mind. They don't have Brady's competitiveness. They don't have Brady's leadership. Because you know what? When teams are down, you don't see when the Packers are down, you don't see Rodgers out there rallying the troops. He's like, just doing his own thing. You kind of see Mahomes doing that. Mahomes is a very competitive guy. I'll give him that. But he is never going to have the football mind like Brady because that is something that you never see. So here's the thing. For me to end this is my last thing of this segment. We are not making the playoffs And I'm not saying that like I don't want us to. I absolutely would love us to.
No, we won't though.
But we will not. The best we can do right now is go 9-7. I think 8-8's a very real possibility. I think it's either 8-8 or 6-10 at this point. So here's the thing. What most teams have right now that are making the playoffs is a good season, but we have the best coach, and that will never change. And you know what? One season, whatever. Wait, the thing that's going to be better is that the comeback's going to be even more sweeter. As everyone says when they get injured, it's a minor setback for a major comeback. And that's exactly what's going to happen with us. Maybe not next year, maybe not in 2 years, but it will happen. As long as Belichick is the head coach of this team, the GM of this team, I am not worried. You know what? 6-10, not the end of the world. We've seen so many teams go worst to first and win a Super Bowl. The Giants, when they beat us 2 years in a row, they were wild, or 2 Super Bowls in a row whenever we played them. They were wild card teams. You know what? It is not impossible for us to salvage a team out of what we have. Again, promising defense. And again, you got an unbelievable offensive line. You got I'm being a little generous. You got 1 wide receiver you can probably build around a Myers, and you got a running back you can build around in Damian Harris. All you're missing is a quarterback and an offensive coordinator, and that is what I think we need to do better. So, Adam, anything you want to say before we end this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said pretty much all of it to kind of leave a slightly shitty season on an optimistic note. But, yeah, I mean, as long as you have Bill Belichick coaching the Patriots and Gunnar Olszewski returning punts, then things can't be all too bad.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, we have to look back and see that we won 6 Super Bowls in 20 years. We went to 9 in 20 years. No team in NFL history has done that. So you can't say not a lot of people can say that. No one else can say that. And you know what? I will trade in 1 losing season for what we had. And you know what? That doesn't mean – it's not like we're getting kicked out of the league and we're done. The Patriots are no longer existent. We're just coming back. And you know what? We got to rebuild the dynasty. Again, it's not over. But we got to rebuild it. But yeah, what are you going to say, Adam?
And we're privileged fans when we can be this upset about potentially going like 8-8. You know,
exactly.
When it's this disappointing to probably go 8-8, you know something good's been going on. So that's kind of where I've been thinking.
Yeah, and the last thing it's sending off is that if you abandon ship, don't come back on board. Because I will not let you back on board. Adam won't let you back on board. It's ride or die. You know, if you die, if you hop off the ride, that's the only way to say it. You're dead. You can't come back on. Don't call yourself a Pats fan. You know what? You got to be there thick and thin. So that's everything we got for this very, emotional podcast we just had. Very emotional game wrap up. But of course, we're going to keep updated. We're going to give the game wrap ups for the next 3 games. We're obviously going to do stuff for the off season. We're going to do some maybe mock drafts, do a little couple fun stuff. The Pats podcasts aren't over. And you know what? The NBA is starting up tonight. So we got the Celtics coming up. Bruins are coming up soon. And, of course, the off season for the Red Sox starting up soon. So you know what, guys? It's just getting started again. Something just ended. We're keep getting started. But, yeah, Adam, thank you for always coming on. Any last words?
Nothing else to say.
Go Pats. It's the only thing you can say.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. See you next time.